Are you planning a photography trip to Iceland? Have you already been to Iceland? Or are you just simply interested in the landscape, wildlife and locations of Iceland? Well, in this episode of On My Bookshelf, I'm going to be looking at Photographing Iceland Volume 1 and 2 by James Rushforth and published by fotoVUE. It claims to be the most comprehensive and detailed guide to Iceland ever published. But as we'll find out in this video, it's much more than just a guidebook. Iceland probably has to be on most photographers' bucket lists, with mountains, glaciers, volcanoes, black sandy beaches, wildlife. It really is a true wilderness. So for most people, this would be a once-in-a-lifetime trip. So why would you spend all that time and money going there if you didn't have a plan? You want to have a rough idea of where you want to go and what you might want to photograph. There are many different ways to research a location and everyone has their preference, but probably one of the most effective ways is to use a guidebook. Even better than that is to use a photography dedicated guidebook, and this is where Photographing Iceland by fotoVUE aims to corner that market for Iceland. So in this video we're going to be having a look at what's in the book, who these books are for, and more importantly, is it a book for your bookshelf? Photographing Iceland is split up into two different volumes. There's Volume 1 and Volume 2, plus there is an adventure and travel map. You can purchase each volume separately, so you can purchase Volume 1, it comes with the travel map, and you can purchase Volume 2, which also comes with the travel map, or if you want to save yourself a bit of money, you can buy the bundle together so you get both volumes and the travel map. There is also a very limited edition run of hardcover copies of this book, so you get Volumes 1 and 2, both signed. You get 2 copies of the travel map, one folded, one unfolded, so you can put it in a frame, and also a signed print of one of James's photographs. I'll include links for all the different options in the video description below. Both volumes are 250mm by 250mm. Volume 1 is 496 pages, covers 120 locations and contains over 600 photographs. It covers virtually everywhere in Iceland apart from the Highlands region, so that's the Southern Highlands and the Northern Highlands. So you've got everything from Reykjavik, the Golden Circle, and all around the islands from north, south, east and west. It's a big book. Volume 2 is 208 pages and covers the Southern Highlands and the Northern Highlands. This is Iceland's true wilderness. It can be quite difficult to access, there's not a lot of infrastructure there. You really do need a plan to go to the Highlands, hence the reason why you need a guidebook. The adventure and travel map is 125mm by 225.5mm when folded. It's printed on water resistant and tear-proof paper, and it covers all the locations from Volume 1 and 2. But I'll talk more about the content of this map later on in the video. Both books open with a stunning image to really whet your appetite to the types of photographs and locations that you'll see in these books. Now the book follows a pretty typical structure for any fotoVUE guidebook, but as we'll see later on in the video, they're improving the way they present that information and introducing new information types that can be really useful as well. But one of the first things you'll come across is the locations overview map. This gives you the complete view of Iceland and the locations contained within that particular volume. And then you can cross-reference that with a contents page on the opposite side. Both volumes have some really useful information on logistics. Now, while getting around Iceland isn't particularly difficult, it's not quite as simple as a walk down the pub either, so it's important to read this information and get a handle on how to get about Iceland. This is particularly important if you're going to drive yourself around. In Volume 2 there's also some additional information about driving the roads of the Highlands. This is critically important if you're considering going into this area. For example, not all the roads are open all year round. There's also information on money, accommodation, weather and climate. Recommend you read that. I've recently went to Iceland and never once did I regret spending all that money on that super warm down jacket. The great thing about a guidebook is you can benefit from the author's extensive knowledge. In the book, James has provided a list of the sort of recommended and classic locations, plus he's also done some suggested itineraries. Obviously these can be followed to the letter, or they can just form the base of your own adventure. The section on history, culture and wildlife is not to be missed. For me, half the fun or the joy of going to a new country is also learning more about its people and what's in the country. So James writes in quite a bit of detail about the people, the flora, the fauna, the animals, the cuisine, the natural history, the landscape, and all of this is beautifully complemented with some stunning imagery. There's also a small section at the back of the book on language and key phrases. Now, while you'll find the Icelandic people's grasp on the English language is insanely good, I think it's always nice to go to a new country armed with a few key phrases. Nothing better than being able to thank an Icelandic person in their native tongue for the hot chocolate and rum that you've just ordered. All the information I've talked about in the book so far I would consider essential reading. But at the end of the day, these books are photography location guidebooks. It's the information about the locations that's at the heart of this book. So in each volume you'll find the book split up into a number of different chapters which cover a large geographical area. Then when you go to that chapter you'll find a map, and you'll find that that area has been split out into a number of smaller different areas which contain a number of locations, and from there you can look at that map and cross-reference those locations with the contents page and start planning your itinerary. Each location in the book follows a fairly typical format. First of all, you get a little bit about background information about the location, and then you'll get the recommended viewpoints. But these should, as always, as with any guidebook, should be considered a starting point. You're always going to be free to move about and explore and find your own viewpoints. Also included is some critical travel information, some of which you might not have seen in previous fotoVUE titles. There's GPS coordinates for the car park. There's also a QR code. You scan that with your mobile phone, it opens up Google Maps, click and navigate, and you've instantly got driving directions to that location. Also, if you're familiar with the What 3 Words app, which is free to download, it's also got What 3 Words for those locations as well. And if one of the viewpoints is a little bit further away from the others, it will also give you some specific information about that viewpoint, such as more GPS coordinates, What 3 Words, and QR codes. There is also some very useful driving information about getting to these locations. In Volume 1 it talks mostly about what type of vehicle you need, so whether you need a 4-wheel drive or a 2-wheel drive vehicle, and in Volume 2 it covers a lot more information, so it will talk about suggested routes into that location, what the roads are like, and what class of vehicle that you need. Also, if a viewpoint requires a bit of a longer walk or a hike, it will also give you information about how long that hike will take, what distance you will cover, and how much ascending and descending you will do. Having lots of information is all very well, but it also needs to be up to date and accurate. Now, I just read the section on Vesterhorn, and having just come from Iceland, I can say that it's all up to date and accurate, including that all important bit of information is that you now need to pay to get in there. Now, it's well worth it. It also talks about the cafe, which I also tried, and I have to say I can strongly recommend the hot chocolate and rum. All the information in this book will be great on its own, but what really lifts this book for me is James's photography. It's simply stunning. Every location comes with its own set of photographs. I think in Volume 1 there are over 600 photographs. And if you took all the technical information out of this book and you were just left with the photographs, it could also stand on its own. It's that good. Its photographs are absolutely stunning, and you'll find a huge variety of different photographs in the book as well. You'll find photographs of landscapes, northern lights, architecture, waterfalls, culture, geysers, wildlife, ice, mountains, rivers, birds, seascapes, horses, and even reindeer. Frankly, if you spend any time looking at this book, you'll be booking your ticket to Iceland. It really is a testament to James's skills as a photographer. The Adventure and Travel Map is an excellent companion to these books. On one side, you'll find a complete map of Iceland, and it covers all the locations from both volumes. And it's really easy to find the location in the book because on the map, it's divided up into the same chapter sections as you'll find in the book, and all of the location numbers are exactly the same as well, so you can look at the entire map and then quickly grab the book and find the right page. On the other side of the map there are some smaller maps to cover Reykjavik and the Golden Circle. There's also some useful information there on driving, weather, climate, and also how to photograph the Northern Lights. The bulk of the information on this side of the map, however, is the locations. Like I say, it's all the locations from both volumes. Some of them are marked red. These are typically identified as the classic locations for Iceland, but also really important information there. It's got the QR codes and the What 3 Words information there as well. So you can sit down, get your map, scan the code, and you've got your driving directions to that location. I think with a country as big and as rich in locations as Iceland, the map is a very nice touch. Okay, let's see if I can summarise my thoughts on Photographing Iceland. Let's start with, who is this book for? Is it for the person that's planning their first trip to Iceland? Well, it's hard not to recommend this book for first-time visitors to Iceland. It has everything you need, from all the cultural information, the logistical information, hundreds of locations, driving directions, how to get there, what sort of car you need, QR codes, everything that you would need to plan a successful itinerary. So if you're thinking about going to Iceland and you want to know where the one source of information is, you can't really do better than this book. What about for the photographer that's already been to Iceland? Well, I would still recommend picking up this book. I've just come back from Iceland, and what these books remind me is that I barely scratched the surface of Iceland. It's packed full of inspiring locations, and I'm just desperate to go back. And this book will be a really handy tool to enable me to plan that next visit to Iceland. But what if you can't get to Iceland? Or perhaps you've just got an interest in Iceland or the photography of Iceland? Well, I think this is where Photographing Iceland pushes the boundaries of what a guidebook is. This book is so much more than a collection of locations and GPS coordinates. It's an Icelandic experience in its own right. The early sections of this book will teach you a little bit about Iceland itself, but for me it's the photographs that really make this book. The large format style of this book helps you look at these photographs as if they're in their own coffee table book. This is why I think these books can be enjoyed by first-time travellers, seasoned adventurers, or anyone just with an interest in the photography of Iceland. However, while these books definitely benefit from the larger format size and the quality and breadth of information, there's no escaping the fact that these books aren't exactly what you call pocketable. At 250mm by 250mm, Volume 1 weighs 1800 grams and Volume 2 weighs 800 grams. So these aren't even really going to fit in your camera bag. The question is, would I take them to Iceland? Are they worth the weight penalty and that all too tight hold baggage weight limit? Well, for me, now that I've seen these books, I can't imagine going to Iceland without them. Yes, the map is super useful. It's nice and pocketable. It's easy to take about with you. I can just imagine myself being in a cafe in the middle of the day, get the map out with my hot chocolate and rum, and have a look at which location I'm going to go to next. But even the best laid plans and itineraries need to change, and I think this is where having the information, the detailed information in the book, is super useful. I can therefore imagine myself at night sitting in the hotel bar with my friends. We got the book out and we're having a look through it, being inspired and finding out what we're going to shoot the next day. So is Photographing Iceland a book for your bookshelf? Well, for me personally, yes it is, both volumes. As a guidebook, it is excellent. As a collection of photographs, it is superb, it's inspiring. I'm not sure how long it took James to research, write and photograph this book, but hats off to you, sir. That's a monumental task. And also credit to fotoVUE for pushing the boundaries of what a guidebook is. Remember, if you want to pick up either of these volumes, both of them, the map, or any combination of, you'll find links for them all in the video description below. The only problem I've got now is I thought I'd scratched my Photographing Iceland itch, but all these books done is remind me that not only is the itch back, it's worse than ever. I don't think it'll be long before I'm heading back. Thank you so much for watching this longer than usual episode of On My Bookshelf. I've recorded nearly 30 episodes of On My Bookshelf, so even if you don't have an interest in Iceland, why not check out the On My Bookshelf playlist, which I'm putting up in the corner of the screen just now. There's sure to be a title in there to inspire your photography. Also, if you've got an extra few minutes, why not check out the special episode of On My Bookshelf that I've filmed on location with Nick Livesey to talk about his fotoVUE title, Photographing the Snowdonia Mountains. But that's it for me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again in the next episode of On My Bookshelf.